Hello there and welcome to a new series of videos on my channel called Emergency on Planet Mirth, where we look at controversial moments for popular comedians. Now, sometimes those controversial moments can benefit a comedian, but more often than not, they can destroy a comedian's life and career. Now, I'm going to be looking at Dave Chappelle in this series, plus Nish Kumar, maybe a few others, but first, we're going to start with a man who I once considered to be my comedy god, my comedy hero. He couldn't do a thing wrong. His name is Andrew Lawrence, and this video you're going to watch was actually recorded in July 2021, and there's been a 7-month gap between me recording it and uploading it, because originally it was going to be a collaboration with another YouTuber. That sort of fell apart due to stuff happening in his life, fair enough. So I've finally got around to uploading it, and I recorded it on the week where Andrew Lawrence watched, like many people in the UK, watched the final of the European Championships, football, soccer, if you will, and England, my country, lost in the final, and a black person or two took some penalty kicks in that final and missed, and Andrew Lawrence posted a couple of tweets that everybody apart from Andrew Lawrence thinks are very racist indeed. This is after another controversy that he made a few years before about a program called Mock the Week. And I'll be looking at his fall in the next video in this series. But this video is about Andrew Lawrence's rise, how he became one of my favourite comedians of all time, albeit briefly. Showing, I guarantee you'll see some comedy that you've never seen from Andrew Lawrence before, and you'll be absolutely amazed that this man can create beautiful, genius, glorious, hilarious works of art compared to what we now know Andrew Lawrence, who's basically become some sort of, angry mouthpiece just spouting shit for the far right, which isn't even in any way funny. Please subscribe because there's plenty more coming in this series. But you're about to see me from 7 months ago, so I might look slightly different, so don't be too shocked. And until next time, thank you for watching. Cheers.
Some of you sitting there at the moment thinking this is all very well, Andrew, but when are you going to make some jokes about your ginger hair and the fact that you've got a creepy face and a voice like a sex offender? Normally I do make those jokes because I feel like if I don't, audiences are sitting there a little bit baffled and confused, thinking, what's going on? In a comedic sense, God's given this man so much to work with.
My YouTube channel is called Anti-Social Media, where I take a satirical look at the very worst offenders on Twitter and in general life. I basically make funny videos about awful people, and I've discovered in my research about Andrew Lawrence a long-lost joke, his most offensive, most dark, most awful joke that should have seen him cancelled from day one, but people have largely forgotten about it or don't know it exists. And I decided to put that joke in a separate video I'm going to make about Andrew Lawrence on my channel only. So if you do subscribe, you'll be one of the first people to see that. Links to subscribe will be below in the description box. Now, I opened my section of this video with a clip of Andrew Lawrence from about 7 years ago with his long-running opening gag about the way he looks. But I want to take you back further now to 2005, when Andrew Lawrence's early comedy work was dark. Very, very dark indeed, but also very, very funny. And I believe this may be his best work, in my opinion. Now, I don't want to say Andrew Lawrence peaked in 2005, as he was nominated and won plenty of comedy awards after that period of time.
After 2 Edinburgh Comedy Award nominations, winning the BBC New Comedy Award, getting a Sony Award nomination for radio comedy, finally I might be able to get my electricity reconnected, pay my tax bill and stop working the streets at night filleting old men for a fistful of peanuts.
The purpose of my section in this video is to show you how a comedy natural, a gifted joke writer can, over time, fall so dramatically and ungracefully and destroy his own career. And I shall largely achieve this by showing and analysing how Andrew Lawrence's comedy has changed beyond all recognition from day one to 17 years down the line. Now, Andrew Lawrence, circa 2005, is one of the few acts who brought a guitar onto stage and didn't make you think, oh, for fuck's sake, a musical comedian, Jesus Christ. Because he always captivated you with clever and creepy poems, and also he was a fantastic stand-up comedian too. And you'll see a clip of him in just a second, but there's almost none of his early comedy stuff online to view, okay? The nearest thing you'll get to seeing any of his actual stand-up is unfortunately in reviews, such as this one from comedy website chortle.co.uk, where in 2006, absolute cunt of a man, Gordon Bennett, does the very worst thing a reviewer can ever do by revealing and thus spoiling half of Andrew Lawrence's jokes from his show. Now, the least spoilery comment I can find from that review goes like this, and I quote, "From the first comment about talking dirty to Granny up to his final routine about the desperation of hope, Lawrence doesn't drop his sick, weirdo person once. It's persona. It's persona, Mr. Bennett. It's good to see you've always been allergic to spell checking your work, you absolute shambles of a journalist." Anyway, I digress. This video is not about you. Calm down, everyone, just chill. It's about Andrew Lawrence. Anyway, luckily some of the smallest amount of stuff I can find from Andrew Lawrence's early days of comedy online is, thankfully, some of his best work. From a Radio 1 show that was broadcast in 2005 at around 3 o'clock in the morning, hence its title, The Milk Run. This is during the good old days of Radio 1, and the station was allowing new and exciting comedians like Tim Key, John Oliver and Russell Howard and so on to tell jokes over some outstanding music to admittedly milkmen and college students that didn't actually go to college but instead stayed up all night watching American sports, listening to Radio 1, and then eventually falling asleep after the big breakfast had finished, making sure they got up again at 2 o'clock to listen to Mark and Lard. Needless to say, I didn't achieve much in life, but do remember to like and subscribe, please. I need this. Now, Lawrence's shows on the Milk Run were a mixture of Blue Jam and Monkey Dust, sort of combined. Now, if you don't get those references, you're far too young, and therefore I fucking hate you. Here's a clip which is so dark it almost guarantees that this video will be demonetized by YouTube instantly, so my apologies to my bank manager.
This is a filthy story about a boy called William Reese. He was a mixed up young sod and he lived by the sea, and early every morning he went walking on the beach. He liked the sun on his back and the sand around his feet, and everyone who knew him thought he was normal and happy. But late in the evenings, he stalked the cemetery, seeking out fresh graves for his lurid activities, digging in the moonlight with his eyes on the prize. He was only ever happy between a dead woman's thighs. One hot summer night, a policeman came snooping around. For many years to come, he couldn't speak of what he found. He flashed his torch, and from out of the darkness, he saw the seaside boy with his pants around his ankles and his cock in a carcass. That boy languished in prison till he was old and grey. While walking round the jail yard, he collapsed one day. He was lying on his deathbed. I heard him laugh and say, "Tell all the ladies at the graveyard to get ready for love, 'cause William Reese is about to get laid." He was a corpse fucker, a grave plucker, tomb shaker, cadaver raper, skiddly-did-did-dee. What a nasty thing to be.
Now that gives you some idea of his earlier work. He had stand-up routines. One of his famous stand-up routines from his early days was about killing and eating his own mother, for example. Now, Lawrence had a few brief appearances on TV during this period where he chose to embrace a more, let's call it, family-friendly material for the sake of argument, which is perhaps the reason why he quickly dropped the guitar, the crazy hair, and the super dark jokes from his routine for a broader and possibly more profitable comedy club career. Now, I do find it a tad ironic that Andrew Lawrence started his comedy career being highly respected despite looking like Mick Hucknall, and then ended his comedy career looking nothing like Mick Hucknall but being even more despised than Mick Hucknall. Now, I first saw Andrew Lawrence live during his transition into a club comedian proper at an arts centre in Newbury, which 8 people attended. He was so under the radar that when I went to collect my tickets for the evening at the box office, I said simply, "Andrew Lawrence," and they thought I was him, despite there being a massive poster of Andrew Lawrence next to my own face. Turns out Andrew Lawrence was just running late, but the tiny audience greeted him was soon cut down by 25% when a middle-aged couple who were so offended by some of his darker jokes just walked out. They fucking just left, but not in any normal way. They made a point of going from the back of the room all the way up to the stage, right in front of Andrew Lawrence's face, and literally stuck 2 fingers up to him and called him shit before fucking off, right? Now, as a true professional, Andrew Lawrence very briefly addressed this, and then sighed and carried on the show to the remaining 6 people that were there, and we had a lot of fun, and I respected him even more after that incident.
I've been having a difficult time recently. I drove home late at night from a gig a few weeks ago, and I knocked someone over in my car. Don't worry, it's all right, relax. I don't think anyone saw me. And thought about stopping, calling the police, fessing up, but hit that guy pretty hard. I thought he's never going to walk again. There's no point ruining both our lives.